He collapsed in front of my boss, clutching his chest. Everyone panicked. I didn't, because I knew he was faking and I had proof. Last night, my husband faked a heart attack. Yeah, let that sink in. I was standing in a fancy restaurant, holding a glass of champagne, giving a speech about my long-awaited promotion, regional director after 7 brutal years, and he collapsed to the floor, clutching his chest. In front of my boss, my colleagues, everyone. Panic. Screams. Someone knocked over a chair. My assistant spilled wine on her blouse trying to help. I dropped the mic literally. EMTs rushed in. Sirens. Oxygen masks. The whole dramatic scene. Everyone looked at me like I was the world's most heartless woman because I froze. Because I knew. I knew it wasn't real. How? You're probably asking. Because 2 hours earlier, in our kitchen, I had caught him glaring at my blazer like it had personally offended him. He didn't say a word. Just stared at me like I'd just told him I was leaving him for someone taller, richer, and more emotionally stable. His exact words? So, this is what you're wearing to go gloat? Not congratulations. Not, I'm proud of you. Just bitterness wrapped in sarcasm. I ignored it. Like I always did. Smiled. Kissed his cheek. Told him not to wait up. He didn't respond. And then boom. Floor. Ambulance. And me, sitting in a hospital room next to a doctor who kept saying, well, the tests are inconclusive. Could be stress. Or not. It wasn't stress. It was sabotage. He wanted to ruin my moment. And he succeeded. But the part that really kills me? It worked. My boss left early. My team looked shell-shocked. The dinner was canceled. The speech I practiced for weeks died before it reached the second sentence. And I sat in a plastic hospital chair, watching my healthy, sulking husband fake shallow breaths while texting under the blanket, thinking, how the hell did I get here? This isn't some high school drama. I'm 34. I pay the mortgage. I handle the bills. I fixed our leaking roof while he researched the best materials for 6 months. And this grown man, couldn't stomach the fact that I was finally succeeding. You think that was the worst part? Not even close. Because the next morning, after being discharged with nothing but a pamphlet about anxiety and a recommendation to rest and hydrate, he asked if I could take the week off to help him emotionally process everything. While eating pancakes I made. On the couch I assembled. In the apartment I found. You want to know what I said? I smiled. Said I'd think about it. Then I walked into the bathroom, locked the door, and vomited. From rage. Not nerves. Because something broke in me last night. Not from the fake heart attack. Not even from the public humiliation. It was the moment I realized he enjoyed it. He enjoyed watching me crumble. And I realized I've been blind. Willingly blind. For years. But not anymore. Because I went back through old texts last night. I opened emails. Calendar invites. Bank statements. And what I found. It changed everything. He's been planning this. Not just the dinner sabotage. All of it. And in the next 9 parts, I'm going to tell you exactly how I found out. But first, let me take you back to how this all began. You know what's funny? It didn't start with screaming, or cheating, or even lies. It started with a toothbrush. Specifically, mine. It was a Tuesday morning, and I noticed my electric toothbrush was gone from the charger. Not moved. Gone. I checked the bathroom drawer, the cabinet, the guest room. Nothing. When I asked him about it, he barely looked up from his phone. Oh, I threw it out. The bristles looked weird. No apology. No explanation. Just tossed it. That was the first time I felt it. That tight little knot in my stomach. The one that whispers, something's off. But I brushed it off. Literally. With a cheap manual toothbrush from the drugstore. The second sign? He accidentally deleted a Zoom recording of my quarterly review. The same one I needed for my performance evaluation. I'd spent days prepping that presentation. Nailed every slide. Even my manager complimented me. I asked him, calmly, why the file was missing. He said he was cleaning up the desktop. Thought it was just another one of my work files. No big deal, right? Except he never deletes his stuff. Ever. His folders are stacked like digital hoard piles, screenshots from 2017, video game mods, draft emails he never sent. But suddenly mine was clutter? I didn't press it. Told myself I probably should have backed it up anyway. Then came the dinner accident. We were supposed to go to my boss's house for a casual gathering. Wine, small talk, networking. A big deal for someone like me who's clawed her way up every corporate ladder barefoot. An hour before we had to leave, he forgot to gas the car. Said we'd have to Uber. Fine. Except halfway there, he realized he also forgot his wallet. No ID. No cash. No nothing. I had to turn around, drive back, and by the time we arrived, everyone was already 2 glasses deep into Chardonnay and inside jokes. I spent the entire night smiling too hard and feeling like the weird cousin no one invited but couldn't kick out. When we got home, I was quiet. And that's when he said it. I don't know why you take these things so seriously. It's just work. It's not your whole personality. I laughed, but not in a funny way. In a how did I end up here way. Because for years, I had convinced myself that I was the intense one. The overachiever. The always-on wife who didn't know how to relax. But what if that wasn't true? What if I was just surviving? Let me paint you a picture. He hasn't worked full-time in over 3 years. Quit his job to focus on himself after his startup failed. I supported him. Financially. Emotionally. Gave him time, space, everything. I even encouraged him to go back to school. Helped him apply. Paid the tuition deposit. He never showed up to orientation. He says he's building something new now. A consulting brand. But the only thing I've seen him build are elaborate excuses. And I'm not saying that to be cruel. I'm saying it because I've lived it. I've come home from 12-hour workdays to find him playing video games with teenage boys in Finland. Dishes in the sink. Takeout on the table. And his only comment? You look tired. Want me to microwave the leftovers? At first, I thought he was just lost. Burnout. A smart man stuck in a rut. But now I think it's more than that. I think he hates that I'm not stuck there with him. Because the higher I climb, the smaller he feels. And instead of dealing with that, he started clipping my wings. Subtly, quietly, strategically. Death by 1,000 accidents. And I didn't see it until the hospital. Until that fake collapse. Until I stood over him, watching the monitor beep softly, while he scrolled Reddit under the blanket like this was just another Tuesday. And that's when I remembered. The second phone. 3 weeks before the incident, I'd been cleaning under the couch, looking for the remote, when I found an old Android. Cracked screen. No case. Dead battery. I assumed it was his backup. He always keeps old tech around just in case. But that night, I charged it out of curiosity. And when it finally powered on, let's just say, I didn't sleep. There were messages, photos, plans, and one very specific email draft titled, How to Handle Her Promotion. Yeah, he'd been planning this longer than I thought. And I wasn't just dealing with a lazy partner anymore. I was dealing with someone who saw me as a threat. So yeah, when he faked that heart attack, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just watched. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I married a man who would rather pretend to be dying than let me shine. And now I had to decide. Do I expose him? Or do I play along? Because trust me, he's not done. And neither am I. The email wasn't sent. It was sitting in the drafts folder of that old, cracked phone. Like a time bomb he never had the guts to launch. But it didn't matter. I read every single word. Subject: if she gets promoted, here's what we do. We. Not I. We. There were bullet points. Actual bullet points. Like a corporate strategy document. Keep her busy the week before. Disrupt sleep cycle. Create emotional instability. Reminders of past fights. Triggers. Mention body image subtly. See. Dress from last year's party. Plant doubt about team loyalty. Use anonymous feedback. Reclaim spotlight. Plan fake illness if necessary. I wish I was kidding. I stared at that last line for 5 full minutes. Plan fake illness if necessary. That wasn't a last-minute panic move at the restaurant. That was pre-calculated sabotage by the man I shared a bed with. A man who'd cried in my arms after his business failed. Who I defended to my friends when they said he was using me. Who told me I was his soulmate. His best friend. His investment? I felt cold. There were other emails, too. Half-written rants to his sister, complaining about how she's becoming arrogant and needs to be reminded who actually runs this house. There was even a draft reply to a job recruiter. Never sent, never finished. Just a line that made my skin crawl. Can't do 9 to 5 with her success complex taking over everything. It's emasculating. Emasculating. He felt emasculated by my promotion. Not betrayed. Not overlooked. Not abandoned. Emasculated. Because I worked hard. Because I earned something. Because I didn't shrink myself. You want to know the part that really gutted me? In the Notes app, buried between old grocery lists and half-finished poems, I found a checklist. Not for a party. Not for a birthday. For a meltdown. Restaurant with lots of witnesses. Avoid seafood. No allergy risk. Time collapse after champagne toast. Oops, too early. Stay limp. Don't twitch. Remember, shallow breathing. No eye contact. Count to 5. I remember feeling like the floor dropped beneath me. This wasn't just attention-seeking. This was psychological warfare. And it had worked flawlessly. Everyone at that dinner thought I was the heartless career woman too obsessed with her success to care about her poor husband clutching his chest. God, even my boss texted me the next morning. Hey, hope he's okay. Maybe reschedule our Monday meeting, get some rest. Rest? How do you rest when you're sleeping next to someone who's plotting your public humiliation in a notepad file? That night, I didn't confront him. I couldn't. I needed time. To process. To plan. To not fall apart. He kept asking if I was still mad about the dinner. Come on, he said over spaghetti. It's not like I chose to have a panic attack. I nodded. Said all the right things. You're right. Maybe I overreacted. Let's just move on. But inside, I was on fire. Because something bigger clicked into place. Memories. Small things I'd ignored. Like the time I found my journal torn and shoved under the couch. He said the dog did it. We don't have a dog. Or when I lost my access card 2 days before a major pitch and had to get emergency clearance. I thought I misplaced it. No? I'm not so sure. Or the weird feedback email forwarded to me anonymously, with quotes about how I dominate meetings and make the men on the team uncomfortable. My manager said not to worry, corporate politics. But what if? What if he sent it? Suddenly, I was looking at my life through a cracked lens, and all I saw were red flags I'd painted white out of love. No more. I backed up everything from that phone. Screenshots. Emails. Notes. I even exported his search history. You'd be shocked how many ways there are to fake an ambulance-worthy collapse. Then I made a folder. Named it Plan B. Password protected. Uploaded to the cloud. Copies on 3 devices. Because this wasn't just about a dinner anymore. This was about my sanity. And I had no intention of letting him burn it down. But here's the thing. He knew something was off. Maybe it was my smile. Too polite. Too quiet. Maybe it was how I started leaving my laptop at work. Or the way I stopped answering his text right away. Because one night, just 4 days after the restaurant, he said something that froze me mid-step. You've been acting different. I kept washing dishes. Different how? He didn't answer. Just stared at me with those calculating eyes. And I realized he was planning something else. Something worse. I had to act before he did. But how do you expose a manipulator who makes sure everything looks like an accident? How do you prove sabotage that never leaves fingerprints? Easy. You catch him doing it again. And next time, you record everything. You want to catch a liar? Let them think they're winning. Let them relax. Drop their guard. Assume you've gone back to being blind and apologetic and predictable. That's what I did. I spent the next week smiling more than usual. Making coffee for him in the mornings. Asking how he slept. Watching him squint at me like I was a puzzle missing pieces. It was perfect. Because while he lounged on the couch, scrolling through forums on emotional labor and ungrateful spouses, I was wiring our apartment like a crime scene. Not actual cameras. That would have been illegal. And I wasn't about to get caught in that trap. But I did start recording audio. My work bag? Bugged. My phone? Always on voice memo mode. The vent above the kitchen table? I slid an old Bluetooth mic in there, hidden behind a fake plant. Why? Because he talked the most when he felt safe. And something told me he was about to get reckless again. It didn't take long. 3 days later, I forgot my badge again. Had to leave work early and sneak back into the apartment through the service door. And what do I hear? Him. On the phone. In our kitchen. Laughing. I'm telling you, bro, she bought it. She actually apologized for being distant. Like, damn, maybe I should fake a stroke next time, get a vacation out of it. My blood ran cold. He wasn't even trying to hide it. Yeah. I've got backups. Old phones still got the drafts. Just in case. She won't find them. Trust me. Too late. I'd already found everything. He hung up after a while, whistling to himself as he microwaved leftover pizza. I stood in the hallway, heart pounding, hand gripping my phone like a lifeline. I wanted to walk in. Scream. Smash the plate from his smug hands. But I didn't. Because I wasn't finished collecting. He still thought he was ahead. And I needed that. So I backed out quietly. Took the stairs 2 floors down. Then came up the front like I just arrived. He greeted me with a kiss. Missed you. I smiled back. I brought wine. That night, we watched a movie. Something dumb with explosions, his favorite. I laughed when I was supposed to, nodded along to his rants about the weak male leads these days. And when he asked if I wanted to go away for the weekend, I said yes. Because I knew exactly what he was doing. He wanted distance. Isolation. Fewer witnesses. Classic reset move. Take her out of her environment. Rebuild the power dynamic. Make her feel small somewhere new. But this time, I was ready. So I agreed. Picked the place myself. Rented the cabin. Booked the car. And planted a second recorder in my purse. Only this time, it had a GPS tracker. Not because I thought he'd get violent. No. Because I wanted everything documented. The lies. The gaslighting. The setup. And whatever came next. We drove up Friday morning. He blasted some podcast about alpha male mindset. I let him talk. Let him explain how people forget their roles when success gets to their heads. Sometimes, he said, you have to bring things back into balance. I nodded. Totally. Inside, I was memorizing every word. The cabin was gorgeous. Quiet. Remote. He liked that. I pretended to be impressed. Gushed about the fireplace. The view. The wine. He made dinner. I poured drinks. We talked about starting fresh. He said we should disconnect from work. No phones, no stress. I agreed. Then secretly activated the backup recorder in my makeup bag. That night, he opened up. Too much. The wine helped. But it was the isolation that made him bold. He leaned back on the couch, feet up, and sighed. I mean, you're brilliant. Obviously. But it's exhausting, you know. I said nothing. He continued, eyes half-lidded. Being the support guy. The cheerleader. It's not who I am. Never was. I didn't marry a CEO. Still, I stayed silent. He glanced at me, maybe checking if I was upset. I wasn't. I was focused. Waiting. Then came the gold. I just needed to remind you. You're not invincible. You can fall. Everyone can. And now? Look. You're more grounded. Less arrogant. I turned toward him, slowly. You think I was arrogant? He shrugged. Not on purpose. Just unaware. Dinners with execs. Big speeches. You were starting to believe your own hype. And the heart attack? A pause. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. Technically, it was a panic attack. Right? My stomach flipped. He knew exactly what he was doing. And now? Now I had him on tape. The next morning, I got up early. Made coffee. Packed our bags. Told him there was a surprise brunch reservation back in the city. He grumbled but got in the car. And while he slept on the passenger side, mouth open, hand twitching over his phone, I was already planning the reveal. Because I wasn't going to scream. Or cry. Or throw a glass. No. I was going to do something worse. I was going to let him destroy himself, in front of the one person who still believed in him. And when that moment came, I'd be ready. Because this time, I was done playing nice. Let me tell you something about his mother. She thinks he's a saint. The golden boy. Sensitive. Intelligent. Misunderstood genius who just hasn't found his path yet. When he dropped out of grad school, the system failed him. When he ghosted his last job, toxic workplace. When I started paying the rent alone. Well, marriage is about sacrifice, sweetheart. She once told me straight-faced that I was lucky to have a man so emotionally deep. I almost laughed. But I didn't. Because I was still playing the game. Still trying to prove that I was good enough. Supportive enough. Wife enough. Until now. Because now? Now I had hours of audio. A folder full of screenshots. A step-by-step blueprint of manipulation. And I was done being silent. So I called her. Lunch? She asked, surprised. I never reached out. She usually called me when she needed a ride to the salon or someone to explain how to use her email. Just us girls, I said. It's overdue. She agreed. Of course she did. I booked a nice little cafe. Classy. Open space. No walls to throw wine glasses against. I arrived early, ordered chamomile tea, and waited. She showed up 10 minutes late, floating in with her pastel purse, and that fake surprise smile she always wears. Oh, look at you. Glowing. Promotion looks good on you. I smiled back. Thanks. Sit down. I have something to show you. She thought we were having brunch. She thought we'd chat about spa packages and my new office. Instead, I slid my phone across the table, hit play, and let her son's voice fill the air. Every lie, every bitter comment, Every smug brag about the fake heart attack. Her expression changed slowly. First confused, then pale, then tied around the mouth. She reached for her teacup like her hand was on autopilot. Heard the part where he said I needed to be put back in my place. Heard the word emasculated more than once. And then the kicker, his little laugh after saying, maybe I should fake a stroke next time. When the audio ended, I didn't say a word. I just looked at her. She blinked slowly, then cleared her throat. I'm sure he didn't mean. I raised an eyebrow. Didn't mean what? That I'm arrogant? That my career threatens his masculinity? That he planned a public collapse to ruin my moment? She didn't answer. Of course she didn't. Because this wasn't about her anymore. It was about me. And I was done performing for anyone. I stood up, grabbed my purse. He's going to tell you I'm unstable. Cold. That I'm making it up. I leaned closer. Don't believe him. And then I walked out. He called me 12 minutes later. You told my mom? His voice was sharp, high-pitched, cracking. I put him on speaker. Pressed record. Why? Afraid she'll stop defending you. He didn't answer. Just breathed heavily, like a caged animal realizing the door was wide open, and I'd locked it from the outside. You ambushed me. No, I said calmly. I documented you. Then I shared it. He lost it. Started yelling about betrayal. About manipulation. About how could you do this to me? Oh, the irony. I waited until he ran out of steam. Then I asked one question. Why did you hate that I succeeded? Silence. Then, click. He hung up. And in that tiny moment of silence, I felt it. Relief. Like fresh air rushing into a room that had been sealed too long. I was free. But it wasn't over. Not yet. Because while I didn't want revenge, I did want truth. And he'd built his world on lies. It was time to tear it down. Piece by piece. You know what narcissists hate most? Silence. Not rage. Not tears. Not confrontation. Silence. The kind that means you're not reacting. Not chasing. Not begging. That's what I gave him. After the lunch with his mother, I didn't answer his texts. Didn't pick up when he called. Just let him spiral. Alone. But behind the scenes, I wasn't done. See, the thing about men like him, they don't just lie to you. They lie to everyone. His friends? They thought he was consulting internationally. That's how he explained being home all day in sweatpants. His sister believed he was managing brand deals for a tech company that doesn't even exist. Even his therapist, yes, he is one, was under the impression he was struggling to balance high-performance life stress with a high-achieving spouse. Cute. So I made a list. People he lied to. And I started connecting the dots. First, I emailed the HR contact at a company where he claimed he almost got hired. Subject. Reference check. Curious if this position exists. I didn't expect a reply, but I got one. Fast. Hi. We don't have that role, and no one by that name has ever been in our final candidate pool. Hope that helps. It did. Next, I messaged one of his friends, casually. Hey, quick question. Didn't he say he was working with some European startups? Was it Estonian or Swedish? The reply? Wait, what? No. He told us you asked him to take time off for your mental health stuff. That's when I knew. He'd rewritten the narrative. In every version of his life, he's the victim. And I'm the cold, career-obsessed villain. Classic. So I did something petty, but effective. I changed my Facebook cover photo. Nothing dramatic. Just a screenshot of one of his meltdown prep notes. No caption. No context. Just there. Visible to our mutuals. Within an hour, I got 3 messages. 2, are you okay? 1 from his old roommate. Bro, is this real? Oh, it was real. And I wasn't even close to done. That weekend, he showed up at my office. Unannounced. Security called. Said a man was in the lobby, demanding to speak with his wife. I told them I didn't know anyone by that name. Then went back to my meeting. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Voicemail. I listened. And this man, this grown man, was crying. Not just sniffles. Full-on sobbing. You're ruining everything. You don't understand what this looks like. People are talking. My mom won't return my calls. I'm losing friends. Please. Just, please stop. I didn't feel sorry. I felt nothing. He built his life like a stage set. Polished front, hollow behind the curtain. I didn't burn it down. I just took away the spotlight. And now, the cracks were showing. His mother texted me later that night. A single line. I had no idea. I'm sorry. I stared at it for a long time. Not because it changed anything, but because it meant the first domino had truly fallen. And more were coming. The next day, I got a call from someone unexpected. His ex. We'd never spoken. I'd seen her name once, early in our relationship, when she commented on a photo of his, and he deleted it immediately. She found my number through a mutual friend. I heard what happened, she said. And, I'm so sorry, but I'm not surprised. That conversation lasted 2 hours. Turns out, I wasn't the first woman he tried to break down to feel powerful. I was just the first one who documented it. She told me things that made my stomach twist. Manipulations, financial games, even a staged car accident that mysteriously lined up with her promotion in grad school. Patterns, repetition, scripted sabotage. I thanked her, truly, and hung up with one goal in mind. No more hiding. That night, I posted a thread. Not to cancel him. Not for clout. Just the truth. Step by step. The deleted Zoom presentation. The vanishing badge. The anonymous emails. The fake heart attack. The phone. The notes. The recordings. I blurred his name. Didn't tag him. But the people who needed to know? They knew. And the fallout? Started fast. His friends stopped calling. His inbox went quiet. And me? I finally slept through the night. Because the game was over. But the best part? I never even had to say his name. His own behavior was loud enough. You'd think after all that, he'd stay quiet. Disappear. Go low. Rebuild whatever scraps of dignity he had left. But no. Narcissists don't go down with grace. They flail. And when they realize they've lost control of the story, they try to write a new one. So the day after I posted that thread, he made a blog. Yes, a blog. Title? When Love Becomes Abuse, My Side of the Story. I wish I were kidding. He posted long, meandering paragraphs about how his wife's success emasculated him, how he was emotionally neglected, and how he suffered in silence while I pursued ambition at the cost of compassion. He even added some fake anecdotes. According to him, I once yelled at him for crying after his startup failed. That didn't happen. I held him in the bathtub for 2 hours while he shook. He said I forbid him from seeing his friends. Also false. He lost most of them by ghosting group plans 5 times in a row. But the worst part? He accused me of spreading edited recordings out of context. That's when I knew. He was scared. Not sorry. Just cornered. And still trying to claw his way out with charm and manipulation. So I made popcorn, sat down, and watched the comment section implode. Because here's what happens when you lie online. People dig. People compare timelines. People remember things you forgot they knew. It took less than 48 hours for the blog to backfire. Someone found his Reddit history, posts complaining about his freeloading wife. Another found the leaked screenshots he sent to a friend bragging about breaking her confidence little by little. Someone else pulled up his old tweets from 2019, mocking women who crack under pressure and calling them weak links. It was ugly, but honest. And now? It wasn't just me telling the truth. It was his own words catching up to him. He shut down the blog on day 3, deleted the post, locked his accounts. Too late. The damage was done. That night, he showed up at my apartment. Yeah, again. Buzzed the door nonstop for 15 minutes. I didn't answer. He called twice. Then texted. This has gone too far. You made your point. Then, I need to talk to you face to face. Please. Then, I still love you. That one made me laugh out loud. Because the man who once faked a heart attack to ruin my career was now using love like a fire extinguisher on a house he set on fire. And then came the real kicker. Let's not destroy each other. We can fix this. Destroy each other? I hadn't laid a finger on his life. I just stopped protecting it. And that, for him, was the real betrayal. Not my posts, not the recordings, but the fact that I let people see him. Unfiltered, unpolished, unmasked. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the text to my lawyer. Yes, by now I had one. Not for divorce. We were never legally married. But for protection, digital and otherwise. Because the deeper he sank, the more desperate he got. He started messaging my colleagues. Subtle stuff. Just checking if she's okay. She's been under a lot of stress lately. Let me know if you notice anything off. Trying to plant seeds. Twist the narrative. Again. But this time, I wasn't alone. One of my coworkers sent me a screenshot. Another offered to file an HR complaint on my behalf. Even my boss, the same one who saw him fake his collapse, called me privately and said, if he contacts anyone else here, let me know. We'll handle it. And I realized. He wasn't the only one losing control. I was taking mine back. The final straw? A letter. Handwritten. Left at my door. I opened it, sat down, and read a full page of poetic garbage. About how we were mirror flames. About how I pushed him into shadows. And then, I kid you not, a quote from some self-help guru. If you don't heal what hurt you, you'll bleed on people who didn't cut you. He underlined it. Twice. I folded the letter, placed it in a file labeled evidence, and poured myself a drink. Because that was the sound of a man unraveling. And I wasn't even watching anymore. I was already moving forward, already building something new. But he was still clinging to ashes and blaming me for the fire. He stopped trying to contact me after the letter. No more texts. No more voicemails. No surprise visits. At first, it felt like peace. But then, I realized it wasn't silence. It was the sound of sinking. Because without me, he had no script, no stage, no audience. And slowly, his entire life started to unravel. It started with his consulting brand, which, as it turns out, wasn't a real company. More of a website with a stock photo and some buzzwords about mindful disruption and digital synergy. I knew that. But now, other people were finding out. He lost his last 2 clients, both of whom had been paying him to write blog posts they assumed were ghostwritten by a team. Turns out, it was just him. In sweatpants. Copying Medium articles and rephrasing them slightly. He posted one last blog titled The Cost of Silence, where he blamed cancel culture and emotional sabotage from close relationships. It got 6 views. 3 were probably him. 1 was me. I laughed the whole time. His mother blocked me on Facebook. No warning. Just gone. But I heard from a mutual that they had a huge fight. Apparently, she confronted him about the recordings. He tried to say I edited them. She asked why he wrote plans to collapse in a restaurant. He couldn't answer. She called him a liar. He stormed out. That same week, his sister unfollowed him. So did 3 of his old friends. You know what that looks like, when someone's carefully curated web of sympathy starts to fall apart? It's not explosive. It's quiet. Embarrassing. Like watching someone try to tape a broken window during a hurricane. He tried to rebuild his image. Started tweeting motivational quotes. Men deserve safe spaces too. Being misunderstood doesn't make you wrong. No one sees the work you do in silence. And maybe that would have worked. If he hadn't spent the last 3 years destroying the only person who did see him. I didn't reply to anything. Didn't post follow-ups. Didn't call anyone out. Just lived. Worked. Slept. Ate better. Laughed more. Every day without him felt like detoxing from a drug I didn't know I was addicted to. I started journaling again. Went back to yoga. Signed up for a workshop. Reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years. And the best part? No one asked me to shrink. No one interrupted me mid-sentence. No one looked at my success like it was something I needed to apologize for. But the universe has a wicked sense of humor. Because about a month later, I ran into him. Of all places, the pharmacy. I was buying toothpaste. He was in the supplements aisle, looking at something labeled Brain Clarity. I almost didn't recognize him. He looked small. Like someone had deflated him. No swagger. No tension. No performative charm. Just a man in a wrinkled hoodie, holding a bottle he probably couldn't afford. He saw me. Froze. I thought he'd speak. Apologize. Defend himself. Beg. But he didn't. He looked at me like a kid who broke something expensive and knew there was no way to fix it. And I just smiled. Not smug. Not angry. Just peaceful. Then I turned. And walked away. Later that night, I got a text. No name. Just a number. I deserve that. Hope you're happy. I didn't respond. Because I wasn't happy because he broke. I was happy because I didn't. Because after everything. After the lies, the sabotage, the manipulation, the collapse. I was still standing. And he was exactly where he put himself. Alone. Out of stories. Out of control. Out of excuses. And finally, out of my life. It was a Tuesday. Gray sky, light drizzle. The kind of day you barely notice unless something huge happens. And something did. I got an email. Subject line. Senior Director Opportunity. We'd like to talk. I blinked at it. Thought it was spam at first. Then I opened it. It wasn't spam. It was real. A global firm. Twice my current salary. Remote friendly. Full creative autonomy. It was the kind of role I used to dream about when I stayed up till 2 a.m. finishing presentations while he played video games in the next room. The kind of offer you get once. Maybe. I sat in silence for a full minute, just feeling it. Then I smiled, because I knew exactly what this meant. This wasn't just a job. This was a closing chapter. And as if the universe was watching. He found out. I didn't tell anyone, but word spreads in professional circles. Someone who knew someone posted the company's new director shortlist on LinkedIn. My name was there, right at the top. He saw it. I know because he texted me that same night. Well, congrats. Hope you remember the people who stood by you. I stared at the screen, then laughed, because what he meant was, I can't believe you're still rising after everything I did to stop you. And that was delicious. A week later, I got another message, this time from a mutual friend. Hey, just a heads up. He applied to our department. I blinked. Excuse me? He was applying for a role, not even close to mine, at the same company I'd just been offered an executive-level position in. Apparently, he thought no one would notice. Or maybe, he hoped I'd help him. Pull some strings. Give him a foot in the door. This man, who planned a fake medical collapse to derail my career, who gaslit me for years, who tried to smear me online, now wanted to work under me? I didn't respond directly. I didn't need to. Because 2 days later, his application status changed to rejected. I didn't say a word, didn't lift a finger, didn't have to. Turns out, you don't need revenge. You just need to stop saving them. They'll do the rest. Let them spiral. Let them email the wrong people. Let them assume everyone still believes them. They'll crash on their own. And when they do, you'll be so far ahead. You won't even hear the impact. I signed the offer, took the job, moved out of our old apartment 2 weeks later. I didn't leave a note, just returned the key, changed my number, deleted every trace. I didn't block him, didn't have to. He stopped reaching out. Eventually, even he realized. There's no comeback from exposing yourself. And the sad part? He still probably tells people he let me go. Still probably says I was too ambitious, too cold, too career-obsessed. And maybe someone believes it. But I don't care. Because those people, they don't matter. The people who do, they know the truth. They saw the recordings. They read the thread. They watched me rise while he crumbled. And me? I don't even hate him. I don't feel anything. He's a closed tab in the browser of my life. And I have better pages open now. Better people. Better air. The last time I saw him? From a distance. I was in the back of an Uber. He was crossing the street. Same hoodie. Same slouch. But slower now. Smaller. He didn't see me. Didn't look up. And that was the moment I knew. This story was over. I thought I'd feel more. More triumph. More satisfaction. Some kind of cinematic swell, music, slow motion, the camera panning out as I walk away. But no, it didn't come like that. It came quietly, in the sound of nothing. No notifications. No guilt trips. No sudden emergencies that somehow were always mine to solve. Just silence. And peace. It's been 6 months. 6 months since I packed that last box. Since I signed the new lease, started the new job, built the new life. And I don't look over my shoulder anymore. I don't wait for the next twist, the next emotional trap, the next fake apology wrapped in manipulation. Because there's nothing coming. The game is over. And I'm not a player anymore. My mornings are simple now. Coffee. Sunrise. Emails that don't carry dread. I walk more. Breathe deeper. Sleep better. And sometimes, just sometimes, I catch myself smiling for no reason. Not because something amazing happened, but because nothing awful did. That's the thing about surviving someone like him. It's not the drama that leaves the biggest scars. It's the constant almosts. Almost safe. Almost heard. Almost loved. It makes you forget what real peace feels like. But now, I remember. And I protect it with everything I have. I kept the recordings. Not for revenge. Not for proof. Just for me. For those nights when doubt creeps in, the voice that whispers maybe it wasn't that bad. I play 10 seconds. Just 10. That's all it takes. His voice. His words. And the fog clears. I don't hate him. I never did. But I won't miss him either. He was a chapter. Not the story. Sometimes people ask me, would you ever give him a second chance? And I laugh. Not cruelly. Not bitterly. Just honestly. Because it was never about second chances. It was about the first time I gave myself one. The first time I stopped shrinking to make someone else feel big. The first time I said, enough, and meant it. The first time I left, not because I had to, but because I finally wanted to. I still remember the day he faked the heart attack. I remember the panic, the eyes on me, the humiliation. But that's not the day I count anymore. The day that changed my life was the one I stopped explaining myself, stopped justifying, stopped hoping he'd change. That was the day I became someone new, someone whole. And he's probably still telling stories, still spinning new versions of the truth to anyone who'll listen, still stuck in a role he wrote for himself and never learned how to exit. But that's not my problem. Not anymore. I don't need to clear my name. I don't need to prove anything. I just live. Louder. Brighter. Freer. If you're still with me, still reading this, still watching this, then maybe you're where I was. Tired. Confused. Wondering if you're overreacting. You're not. Read that again. You're not. Your peace matters. Your voice matters. And you don't need a breakdown to justify a breakthrough. You can walk away. Even if they don't understand. Even if they rewrite it later. Even if they swear they loved you. You can still leave. And one day, you'll wake up and realize you're finally home.